All right, by the way, the whole toxic thing with LeBron James, what do you make of that?
Well, where to begin here? Okay, so they go from 17-10 on a trajectory to be a top 3 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the litany of injuries, and upon his return, they lose to 3 or 4 of the worst teams in the NBA. He doesn't sit with the team. During injury, he didn't work out with the team. The coach, his job is very much up in the air. The general manager, who is inarguably the greatest Laker of all time, walked in and quit before the last game of the season. Free agents apparently don't want to go there, even though it's LA and the Lakers, and they have plenty of money to spend.
Yeah, they got a lot of money.
And that's not toxic. By definition, what is happening with the Los Angeles Lakers has a high level of toxicity. Like, Kevin Durant could not have nailed it. In addition, what he was actually talking about was how he's covered, which is accurate, where everyone else has gotten the blame. Everyone else falls on a sword. Rob Pelinka's probably going to get fired. Magic fired himself. Jeannie Buss, people are like, she doesn't know what he's doing. Luke Walton's going to get fired. All of these players are going to be gone. No one blames LeBron James. Well, LeBron got hurt. Okay, fine. The point is that when he was back, they lost to Memphis, they lost to Phoenix. Like, he did play in these games.
Yeah, they were bad.
And receives very little, if any, of the blame. It's toxic. It's a toxic environment, and it wasn't toxic before LeBron James arrived. They created a space for him to create a new team. So Kevin Durant nailed it, and that's the main reason why players want to stay away. Kyrie Irving didn't dislike playing with LeBron James. Like, LeBron would give Kyrie Irving the freedom to take
it was Kyrie's best basketball.
It's all the rest. It's all the rest. It's all the rest of the stuff. It's just not fun to go to work.
You know, Pat, I had a source within the Miami Heat said this one time. LeBron's made $260 million playing basketball. And one of the Miami, I heard this before LeBron left Miami, that they said, LeBron's guys are working you for every nickel. They think you're fighting him. And it's like, bro, we're all family here. You don't argue about nickels and dimes with family. We're all good here. That LeBron's group, sometimes you feel like you're fighting them, not working with them. You're on eggshells. And I like the guys in LeBron's group. I like Rich Paul. I like.
You're trying to get in the new Space Jam? You're trying to be the Jim Rome character? LeBron, what was that? Oh, you haven't seen the movie Space Jam, so you don't know the small cameo.
I do believe, like for instance, there's rumors today about Kobe taking over the Lakers. And
no
I'm like,
chance.
That's not going to happen, right?
No chance. Kobe is done with basketball. Kobe's brilliant. Like, again, think of how we look at Magic Johnson now, right? Think of how we look at Magic Johnson now.
Yeah.
Almost like a clown-like character, right? Where he tries to convince us that his smile, I want to get back to being Magic Johnson. Like, dude, wait a second. Now we start to go, wait, Magic failed as a coach. Magic failed as a talk show host. Magic failed twice as an analyst twice, NBC and ESPN. He was awful as an analyst. And so, but based upon what happened last, now we almost clown Magic.
Well, yeah,
listen, for people who aren't old enough to remember, Magic Johnson is arguably the greatest player of all time.
No,
There's an argument to be made. He is the greatest player of all time.
The gap between Michael and Magic has always been way closer. He got to 9 finals. Now, he didn't win them all because there was another dynasty on the other coast. 2
on the other coast, and he was fighting off the Twin Towers in Houston.
Yeah, it was
Clyde Drexler and the Portland Trailblazers, and of course his career was cut short because he contracted the HIV. Right? So, look, Magic Johnson is arguably, I don't believe he is, but there's an argument to be made there. He's the greatest player of all time, and he and Larry Bird saved the NBA.
Yeah, that's
he's the greatest Laker of all time.
Yeah,
he had the most dynamic personality we had ever seen on a basketball floor.
I can still argue it's the best ever.
Because he came back, and look, this is a job he wanted. Remember, he stabbed Jim Buss in the back on national TV time and again, saying he wanted to run the Lakers. And he did, and he's run them off the road. But Kobe's brilliant. Right now, Kobe is viewed as the greatest Laker of all time. There's still people clamoring for Kobe to come back. Kobe was every bit the disaster, the PR disaster, signing that terrible contract with the late Dr. Jerry Buss, you know, when he was coming off of Achilles tendon surgery. But because the last time he stepped on the floor in a Lakers uniform, he scored 60 points and then had a great speech and said, Mamba out. Like, Kobe's brilliant, dude. The Pelinka thing's not going to work. He doesn't want to be a part of it. He wants to be a movie and book and digital kind of icon. That's what he wants to be. Quincy Jones. He doesn't want any part of this.
Well, that's a good guy to want to be. Because he's had a heck of a career.
But it's like, look, I've done that. I've moved on. Whether he emotionally has moved on, he's going to lead you to believe he has, because he looks at Magic Johnson. He's like, dude, they're killing Magic. What would they do to me if it doesn't work with LeBron? And by the way, every time LeBron fails, Kobe Bryant looks better.
I did not love LeBron yesterday skipping out. I think he could have literally done a press conference for 15 minutes, gone live on LA radio or something, done something, because the franchise was in a free-for-all and nobody showed up. No Pelinka, no Magic, no Genie. What did you make of nobody? I mean, basically, Kyle Kuzma, you're the franchise. Answer questions. It was remarkable. Optically, I thought it was a disaster.
It's one of the more, if not the most embarrassing part of this season for LeBron, because the Lakers are yearning for leadership.
Oh, God, they're dying for it.
They're dying for leadership. And he offers no clear desire to be a leader, right? He just doesn't. Now, look, I understand this is classic LeBron James, where he'll never get a coach or general manager fired, but he could get them not fired, right? Sure. Whatever happened with David Griffin in Cleveland, and it leaks out that he was unhappy with it. Like, look, if you walk in and you go like, hey, guess what? You fired David Griffin, I'm not playing. Guess who's not getting fired?
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
So this was his opportunity, and he chose, and I think he believes Dwyane Wade is family. Like, they're family. And he chose family over the place of work, which I understand. Okay, but when the house is on fire, grab a bucket, or you can go running down the street. He was more like, do you remember the Costanza scene when people are running out with the fire and there's video of it, and so instead of helping the women and children, he's running over them? That's essentially what LeBron James did. He was George Costanza when somebody yelled fire, running out of the building, pushing people out of the way instead of helping. All he had to do was show up and be a good soldier. By the way, he still probably could have made the game. Right? Like, that's the truth. He could have shown up early, answered questions, been a leader, gone out to the private airport or to LAX and flown on a G5 and made it there in time for the conclusion of the game. He could have.
Even if he didn't want to, I think if you look at this year, you would have just done it saying, like, his guys would have called him and said, listen, this is a great opportunity. Like, just
correct.
Sometimes
be an opportunist.
Yeah, like even if you were a phony.
Yes.
If you were just fake and inauthentic, you'd be like, I'm just going to do this because it's going to save me some heat for the next 8 days on my brand. Sometimes, and by the way, I you know how I am with authenticity. Be who you are. There are times you say certain things to certain people because it's not mean. It's the right thing. It makes people feel good. There are times I've said things to people that I'm like, this is a moment where this person needs support. They need a hug. They need a love. I'm not being totally honest with what I think, but there are moments when you jump in with a life preserver and save people. I thought the Lakers should have been saved yesterday. Okay, by the way, we were talking about this. I think historically people will say Wade's career is better than Dirk's career. Is that fair? I think Wade's career will be seen as bigger.
Yes. Obviously was helped out greatly by LeBron.
Yeah, and Shaq.
And Shaq.
But
and yes.
Today they're on the market. Both entered the league today. I'm taking Dirk Nowitzki.
I'm taking Dwyane Wade.
Oh!
And I'll tell you why.
I want to hear this.
Well, look, there's a reason that Dirk, who is a great player, and one of the top 2 or 3 foreign-born players, maybe the best ever European-born player to ever play in the NBA.
I think so, yeah.
Would not be ahead of Dwyane Wade. He's never been a great defensive player.
No.
And who does he guard now in the NBA? Remember, like, look, Tim Duncan, I don't know what Tim Duncan is now in the NBA as opposed to what he used to be, right? Nobody posts up anymore. He was really a center back then.
It's funny that people they'll sling arrows at you saying that. But the reality is Karl-Anthony Towns is so great, but he was born in the wrong decade. Karl-Anthony Towns in the 80s would be an all-star center. Now sometimes I think he gets lost. Anthony Davis.
I don't know if Karl-Anthony Towns is the guy. I think Anthony Davis and Karl-Anthony Towns, they are versatile enough that they can't, because they can shoot, they can face the basket, they can't, and they have great feet. They are really good in this era. I think Karl-Anthony Towns, the reason he wouldn't be great in a previous era is everybody doesn't think he's tough. Everybody thinks he's not about winning, and he's about all the other things.
So Dirk, you don't think would be the bigger?
No, look, there's a reason they've lost 7 times in the first round in the playoffs, because he's not a great passer and he's not a great defender. He's an incredible shooter, an incredible shot maker, and a great dude. But in this day and age in the NBA, if you're not a shot blocking big guy, you got to be able to guard 1 through 4. Dwyane Wade can. Dwyane Wade's more like, he's the Derek Jeter of basketball. Where was Derek Jeter the best player in baseball? Maybe one year.
He didn't have the best range.
Okay, but when the game is on the line, there's only one guy you wanted that ball hit to. There was only one guy you wanted at bat. When the game is on the line, I would take Dwyane Wade over most anybody in the NBA. He was more clutch than good. Like he was always, Derek Jeter was always really, really good. But he had this seeming ability to dial up his greatness when greatness was called upon, competitive greatness. And Dwyane Wade had that, and Dwyane Wade was a versatile defender. Was he ever a good shooter? No. But even though the NBA does value shooting, because you now can put shooting all over the floor, it allows for great, and you got to be great at drivers, getting by your man, guys that can get to the cup. And he could get by seemingly everybody, and then he had the ability to have be a big shot maker. I would take Dwyane Wade, and I would take Dwyane Wade because of his defensive versatility, his toughness, and his competitive greatness.
By the way, I heard a little thing yesterday. So there's a sense that Kevin Durant's leaving.
Small J.
Small J journalism.
But I trust the person.
Yes.
So Kevin Durant leaving to New York. And somebody said, be careful. When Kevin came to Golden State, the pitch by Joe Lacob, who is a venture capitalist with a lot of money in tech, was, young man, I'm going to open doors no other owner will open. And a friend yesterday told me, he said, he's in the venture capital space. He goes, Kevin is in on all the right companies up there. James Dolan's not getting him in those companies. That Joe Lacob has gotten Steph and Kevin Durant the kind of opportunities in tech where they'll be billionaires potentially. And that was the sales pitch that nobody talked about. And we all think Kevin Durant wants to go to Hollywood, and he's got a Hollywood company. But he's going to make $1 billion in his tech investments because Lacob. And James Dolan is more into his own band, and this is the hidden secret sauce in him staying in Golden State.
Okay, can I give you my own small J?
All right.
Okay, I've been told that this is big for the league to fix the Knicks.
What do you mean?
The league, the NBA, needs Kevin Durant with the New York Knicks. Remember, his business partner, who's gotten him in all those business deals, is Rich Kleiman, who's based in New York City. And remember, the New York Knicks have black president, black general manager, black head coach. And even though James Dolan is roundly despised in the business, he really has nothing to do with the basketball business. And the guys that do are all really well respected within NBA circles and in
Mills, Fizdale.
Yes, okay, and with the head of the NBA. And so while all of that makes sense, and being in the tech center of the world does all make sense, and they're moving to San Francisco, all that's great. The fact is, the NBA needs the New York Knicks to be fixed. The NBA needs...
Yeah, but Adam Silver can't have his hands on that.
He doesn't have to have his hands on it, right? No one has to have their hands on it. It's just a general sense of, like, look, we want this to work. We need this to work. It all makes sense that it works. And the guy who fixed the New York Knicks, okay, the guy who takes them back to the promised land, which they haven't been since the early 1970s, will think about Linsanity. 2 weeks. That's all it was.
I know.
2 weeks, and he was a legend. Imagine Kevin Durant. I think the sales pitch is even greater, and he still has those business ties with Rich Kleiman, who's his partner in crime. He has the TV show with him, and he's based in New York City.
Kevin, it's very nice weather in the Bay Area. It's just that. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.